Hey guys, thanks for watching this episode, and don't forget to support our Patreon. Just $1 or more will get you access to all of our content as well as other special features. And once again, as a special update announcement, we will be returning to FANEXPO Canada at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre from October 22nd to the 24th, 2021. And wouldn't you know it, a ton of special guests have been added, including Christopher Eccleston from Doctor Who, Giancarlo Esposito from The Mandalorian, Ray Fisher, aka Cyborg from Justice League, and Michael Roker from Guardians of the Galaxy.
I'm very popular, y'all!
Once again, tickets are limited, and if you want to come meet these awesome guests, including ourselves, link in the description down below. And of course, a very special thank you to all of the cameos who made a special appearance in the post-credits scene of this episode. Don't forget to check out the scene at the end of the credits to get a good idea of where the story's going. Thank you all so much for watching, and enjoy the show. The following is a fan-based video review under fair use. The Great Escape is owned by United Artists, MGM Pictures, Turner Classic Movies, and Amazon.com. Please support the official release. I don't wanna be a prisoner no more. Meta control operator, permission to contact Rashid von Stone's office.
Complete.
Ah, Mr. BigJackFilms, such a pleasant surprise of an appointment. Tell me, are you ready to give us the codes to assist in our research?
Honestly, man, I might consider it soon.
So, the higher-ups have seemed to have miscalculated your persistence. Perhaps these lockdowns have weakened you significantly.
That's a possibility. Though in exchange, I will need something from your department.
Ooh, what's your demands there, Mr. BigJackFilms? We are not one for negotiations with patience.
I just need clear access to the projector archives for Carl to use below deck of the base.
That's it?
Yeah, Doc, that's about it. Once you give us privileges to the archives, I can work on getting the codes for you. Unfortunately, when you hacked into our mainframe, the codes were lost in the attack. I'm the only one in your so-called department with any access of getting it back.
You're a good negotiator, Mr. BigJackFilms, but not very bright. What makes you think we can take your word when you can just give us the codes?
Well, you're not too far off from me not being very bright. Because I can't remember access to the codes without looking at them. And I didn't write them down. However, in good faith, if you allow me access to gain the codes on the computer, I might give you the last whereabouts of Dr. Terawat, if that helps you out.
You seem too giving for such a low set of demands. Do not take us for fools, Mr. BigJackFilms.
Yeah, at this point I'm worried about my own skin. Though I'm not gonna lie, Doc, I think I went a little bit over my head and I need a change of pace for my mental state.
Then perhaps since you are so persistent on it, we will take your offer. Very well, I shall give you and your junkie friend access to the archives. When can you begin the work?
After my next review would suffice.
Very well. Pleasure doing business with you. You're making a noble and worthy sacrifice for the good of mankind, Mr. BigJackFilms. Or should I call you Patient 92?
Sure. See you at the end of the review.
End of line.
That's impossible. How do they know of... Nah, no matter. I'll get my mind off the review. Roll the intro! Something's amiss here. guys, what's up? It's BigJackFilms here, and welcome to another review. And once again, I do have to apologize since the Department of Meta-Human Control still has us in imprisonment. Though, to be fair, it does kind of remind me of the prisoner of war stories told during the Second World War. And yeah, there's a lot of great tales from the last great war in history. Yeah, I said it. I won't go into the history of World War II, given how much went down, and there's tons of other YouTubers and internet professionals who can give you the full details, but needless to say, the war was on par with the War of Mordor in Middle-earth. In real life, this was a war that had to be fought in order to be where we are today. And film has been there since the beginning, with several films set during this important part of history, with the likes of the iconic films such as Patton, Schindler's List, Pearl Harbor, nah, scratch that, Dunkirk, and the Call of Duty spark known as Saving Private Ryan. But the film I want to talk about today is one of the most historically accurate and engaging stories of the human spirit, intelligence, and ingenuity. I am of course talking about the iconic spark of the prisoner escape movie simply known as The Great Escape. Based on the true story set in the heart of Nazi Germany in World War II, in 1942 the Germans built what they consider an escape-proof POW camp, named Stalag Luft III, where they planned to house all the problem POWs, or prisoners of war for short, which rounded up those that have made multiple escape attempts in the past, as well as organizing and populating camps all over Germany with expert escapees, to, as Commander Ramsey, played by James Donald, says in the film, as the code of the POWs,
"It is the sworn duty of all officers to try to escape. If they can't, it is their sworn duty to cause the enemy to use an inordinate number of troops to guard them, and their sworn duty to harass the enemy to the best of their ability."
However, what the Germans and their warden, Colonel von Luger, played by Hans Messemer, don't realize is that they've put all the best escape minds in the camp known as the X Organization, named after its leader, Big X, whose true identity is Gestapo-marked RAF squadron leader Roger Bartlett, played by Richard Attenborough, who you may recognize from a little popular movie from 1993.
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
That's right, it's John Hammond from Jurassic Park! So this is where he got the idea to imprison dinosaurs surrounded by fences.
We should be permitted to play God.
What's that?
We have a T-Rex.
God, no.
Yahoo!
Thank God the Germans didn't have electric fences or Dennis Nedry around, because this would have been a disaster on both sides. But Roger is joined by a group of equally skilled allied escape artists played by an all-star cast, including Death Wish's Charles Bronson as Tunnel King Danny, Rook from Atlantis the Lost Empire, James Gardner, as the Scrounger Henley, future psychiatrist Dr. Loomis, Donald Pleasance, as the Forger Blythe, and of course the most famous star of the movie and Cooler King Captain Hiltz, played by the lightning badass Steve McQueen. See what I did there?
Hey, go!
With the Germans making sure the prisoners are confined to the camp as possible to discourage their attempts to return to the war front, Roger's plan is to liberate the largest escape on record at once. Breaking out 250 prisoners who, once out, can start up a front to confuse the Germans, join the rest of the world against the Nazis, or simply just return home. With an organized strategy, 3 tunnels to dig, and a smokescreen of everyone working together to evade detection by the Germans, what followed is one of the greatest stories ever told from the heart of the Second World War. So not only is The Great Escape one of the best true stories from the war, but it's one of the most influential films of all time, not just spreading to pop culture, but essentially creating the prison break genre for films and television for almost 60 years. While I was first exposed to this genre with the likes of Chicken Run and Disney's Recess, which trust me, we'll talk about the original film's impact on those examples later on, I was first exposed to The Great Escape thanks to some of my family members telling me about the film, which I rented from a 2-pack VHS from the old DJ's Video Hut store in my early teens, which has since been closed for years. But it's where my love for the original King Kong grew, along with other classic films I've discussed on this channel, so I owe a lot to that video store for exposing me to some of my favorite movies. But as for The Great Escape, watching it for the first time had me on the edge of my seat, as well as realizing just how much was inspired not just on the film, but the greater respect for the real-life history behind the escape. And over time, it's not only become my favorite World War II film, but one of my favorite films in general from its dialogue, cinematography, amazing detail in the true story, and characters on both sides providing some great chemistry and friendships. And in this movie, even with an all-star cast, this movie has so many characters that in this review, I can't cover them all honestly. However, I can separate them from the good guys to the bad guys easily enough. For starters, all the members of the X organization, both veterans and newcomers, are equally given screen time and a chance to shine, from Big X, Danny and Willie, Commandeer Ramsey, Captain Hiltz and his sidekick Ives, who I swear in a remake would be played by Billy Boyd.
What about second breakfast?
Even the Australian manufacturing comic relief Sedgwick.
Tarek, you speak Russian?
A little, but only one sentence.
Well, let me have it, mate.
Я вас люблю.
Я вас люблю. What's it mean?
I love you.
Love you? What bloody good is that?
Plus, every character has its strengths and weaknesses. Danny and Willie as the Tunnel Kings, becoming essentially a brotherhood, given that Danny explains that he's actually claustrophobic, building 17 escape tunnels. Holy shit! This guy has some baggage.
Because I must get out. I hide the fear, and I dig.
No wonder he named himself Charles Bronson. His balls are as heavy as a set of fucking bronze medals!
Don't do that.
Not to mention Steve McQueen as the Cooler King, given he was already a big star back then, gave the movie its charm with an audience, especially given the fact that as the Cooler King, he made throwing a baseball at a wall really kind of awesome. Not gonna lie, I've actually done that a few times.
Yeah, but my baseball rolled over there. How am I gonna get my baseball?
You first ask permission.
And while other characters like Mac, Cavendish, among a few others do have their time to shine, nobody had a bigger role to play in the escape than the Big X himself with Roger Bartlett. While Steve McQueen might have been the star of the movie, to be honest, I saw the heart and soul of the film with Richard Attenborough. He commands such a damn good performance in one of the best movies of his career outside of Jurassic Park. Why is that? Because once he enters the camp, you could already see this guy has been through the ringer, especially with the Gestapo. While a remake of this movie is absolutely out of the question, I would love to see a prequel with these characters and see where they came from and how they all ended up in Stalag Luft 3, especially Roger himself. The look on his face shows that his escape plan is not just to start up a front to fight the Germans along with getting as many people out to return home, but this guy's face shows the signs that the Gestapo messed him up big time. I get the feeling that some of his men were killed by them and he was forced to watch, which makes his intentions on the escape itself much more personal for him. While he's doing it all for the greater good, you can tell he's also doing it for personal revenge.
What my personal feelings are is of no importance.
All have a lot to contribute to the escape plan, and all of the actors provide an extreme amount of accuracy to the officers they portray, and manage to add a lot of the dialogue presented in the film, making it one of the most quotable movies of all time in my books.
Are all American officers so ill-mannered?
About 99%.
I can't tell you how much I can quote this movie, even in casual conversations.
I need a pick, big, heavy one.
Only one?
2 would be better. Why didn't anybody think of that before? It's so stupid, it's positively brilliant.
I'd like to work at 109, Roger. 109? Right.
Hell, one of the best chemistries is with Henley, Blythe, and Werner the Ferret, played by Robert Gareth. While the Scrounger and the Ferret build an interesting friendship in the camp despite being enemies, his brotherhood with Blythe over time, and without spoilers, provides the most heartfelt story in the film.
Blythe, what are you doing here?
I'm in photographic aerial reconnaissance interpretation.
No, I mean, what do you do here?
Oh, I'm the forger.
And again, I can't really go through all the characters, much like how Colonel von Luger can't name the expert escapees.
Flight Lieutenant Wilinski, 4 escapes, McDonald 9, Haynes 4, Sedgwick 7, the list is almost endless.
Well, while we're at it, we might as well discuss the goons guarding the facility. And for those of shorter-minded judgment, may be surprised to see the bad guys in this movie actually have a soul and humanity to them.
You're crazy. You ought to be locked up.
Which is actually true to history during World War II. According to the veterans and survivors of Stalag Luft 3, the Luftwaffe, who ran the camps under the high command of the Nazis, were more in the outskirts of how the Third Reich extremist ideology had evolved into, since most of them were either veterans of the First World War or Hitler youths brought in at the 11th hour. For the majority of them, they actually still had a sense of honor, dignity, and respect for their rivals, and to treat them with a sense of camaraderie.
and with intelligent cooperation, we may all sit out the war as comfortably as possible.
To them, they didn't really care much for Hitler's reign and were only doing their jobs either for their families or for their very own lives.
Anybody that can carry a pitchfork is going to be out looking for you? Why, they're going to swoop down and scoop you up so fast it'd make your head swim.
Now, that's not to say some of them were giant assholes in the camp. I mean, this is the Nazis, for fuck's sakes. But it shows that even in the purest evil ever brought upon mankind, that there is a speck of good people in their ranks trying to break free from the establishment, and no one had it better shown than the head of the camp with Colonel von Luger, who not only tried to be reasonable and cooperative with his prisoners, as well as show a sense of gentlemanlike respect, but deep down in my belief, actually sided with their cause and led to his sacrificial shame of lower ranking being sent to the thing that every goon guarding the camp feared from their superiors.
One little criticism, and to the Russian front.
It makes these villains not only three-dimensional, especially since they are the shield for the actual bad guys who aren't even in the movie much with the Gestapo, who every time they appear make an intimidating presence whenever they're on screen.
If you escape again and be caught, you will be shot.
Heil Hitler! Heil Hitler!
Heil Hitler.
You might consider their acting and characteristics on par with something you'd see in an Indiana Jones movie, but seriously, these guys were that cold-hearted and evil.
We are going to wish you had never put us to so much trouble.
So yeah, you can see why the German accent is one to be feared, especially on my end, given some of these guys are running my stuff here. We had that, Patient 92! Keep making your triple Uncle Hitler proud, Doc. Little bastard. Shiza face. But for real, given it actually happened, it makes the stakes so much more suspenseful both in and outside the camp. Which, speaking of, why don't we talk about the actual history of the true story and the making of the film, shall we?
I suppose it'll do us all good to let off a bit of steam.
The film is based on Paul Brickhill's 1950s non-fiction book of the same name, which was a first-hand account of the massive escape. In the early 1960s, United Artists picked up the rights to the book to adapt the story with the help of the author himself, Brickhill, who had been a very minor member of the X organization, acting as one of the stooges who monitored German movements in the camp.
I'm watching him. I'm a lifeguard.
Directing the film was John Sturges, who was a pretty popular director at the time after the huge success of the all-star cast western, The Magnificent Seven, for which a lot of the actors from that movie transitioned over to The Great Escape. As production got underway, casting was full of major stars, with the majority of the cast being actual survivors of both World War II and of the camps themselves. Richard Attenborough was a member of the RAF, Donald Pleasance was a survivor of Stalag Luft 1, Charles Bronson was a gunner for the US Air Force, even James Garner was a soldier during the Korean War.
I was a scrounger for a whole company in Yeongdong-po, Korea. And so I knew a little bit about the hustle and whatever that went on.
As casting was being finalized with Sir Richard Harris originally pitched for the Big X, the one who was the most difficult to get a hand on the production was Steve McQueen as Captain Hiltz.
You have other plans?
I haven't seen Berlin yet, from the ground or from the air, and I plan on doing both before the war's over.
He apparently was struggling with the role, and after an early screening of the dailies with the producers and cast, he walked off not just the screening, but the movie itself, and it took the likes of Garner and others to persuade him to stay on.
We'll give you a front place in the tunnel.
I wouldn't do that for my own mother.
I don't blame you.
Well, okay then.
Well, it's completely understandable.
Well, okay then.
So Steve assisted in a few rewrites of the script and character to define his role, with adding the character to be more important to the escape plan by getting out of the camp to map out the area and turn himself in to send the information to the heads of the plan.
Let me know the exact information you need. I'm going out tonight.
He even invited his best friend and stunt double to help him with some of the major action scenes in the third act. Some might not know this, but the iconic motorcycle jump scene was actually accomplished by both the creative writing of Steve in the script and his stunt double doing the actual jump and the crash into the barbed wire.
That is so cool!
Steve in many ways was the Harrison Ford of his time, and it shows him in his prime in one of his most iconic roles.
Oh, you'll still be here when I get out.
Cooler.
The film was shot on location in Germany at the Baviera Film Studio in the Munich suburbs, where sets for the barrack interiors and tunnels were constructed.
It's a lot of timber, Roger.
The camp was built in a clearing of the Perlanker Forest near the studio.
How far are the trees, Danny?
Over 200 feet.
Yeah, I'd say 300.
Long ways to dig.
And for a production budgeted at $13 million, which was a decent-sized amount of money in the early 60s, the film's accuracy of the camp was to excruciating detail, with many veterans and survivors of the camp assisting in the set's construction, making it one of the most historically accurate film sets ever recreated for the screen. The film's iconic music was composed by Elmer Bernstein, who gave each major character their own musical motif based on the Great Escape's main theme. Its enduring popularity helped Bernstein live off the score's royalties for the rest of his life, being used in countless parodies and homages, including the likes of The Simpsons. Critics have said the film's score succeeds because it uses rousing militaristic motifs, but it also interludes a set of warmer, softer themes that humanize the prisoners and endears them to the audience. The music also captures the bravery and defiance of the POWs, with resistance and courage against all odds, with the main title's patriotic march that has since become a popular tune in Britain and around the world as one of the greatest film themes of all time. The soundtrack was originally released on LP when the film was released, but it wasn't 100% complete. In 2011, Intrada, a company specializing in film soundtracks, released and digitized remastered versions of the full film score based on the original 1x4 2-track stereo sessions and original 1x2 3-channel stereo masters, and also included the film's original LP release. I'm not 100% sure if the score is rare or not or widely available, but check it out if you can get the chance. It's worth a good listen. With the music and production all put together, the film's impact really inspired me on so many levels, with themes and dreams of freedom, along with outstanding details and escape ingenuity. I can't tell you how much it educated me on tunneling and engineering, and in school, I used to dig massive holes during recess with a few small friends, along with amazing snow tunnels at home during the winter. Most kids building snow tunnels always have the issue of collapsing if dug too far, but with The Great Escape, it taught me that tunneling is more than just digging. It's also about stabilizing disaster and lighting your way through. Hence sketch designs and building wooden buttresses into tunnels to keep them from collapsing. In the plan and in the movie itself, it establishes that even the Germans were smart enough to evade any escape attempts from their prisoners by installing sand under the campgrounds, so if tunneling becomes initiated, the diggers would be exposed by being buried alive or even through sound detection, making the efforts to get out so much more suspenseful, not knowing if the plan would succeed or fail, making the majority of the movie more fun to enjoy inside the camp, knowing every detail of the plan. So yeah, this movie is great and has some iconic, if not historical, plot points. However... Start load full, coming in hot! Yeah, I'm just finishing up! If I can just get the jamming signal in the wires, and that should do it. Carl, how goes the track tunnels for the external backups? No go today, dude! No good? Today, 4 times. Ah! Carl! Carl, you okay? Fine. I'm fine, dude. Bring me a shovel, I'm alright. 5 times today. Dude, this way we'll never get through. We need more supplies. Right. So, is there anything negative to say that might contradict the historical accuracy? Well, we'll find out after this commercial break. In the meantime, I gotta help Carl out. Hold on, buddy. I'm coming in with supplies. Well, if I gotta be be somewhat fair in this review, there are some minor nitpicks in the movie that aren't really a problem, but worth mentioning for trivia points. While the film's top-billed stars are the two American actors Steve McQueen and James Garner, in actual history, the escape plan was mostly done by British, Australian, Scottish, and Canadian officers, amongst several other factions fighting against the Germans. But because the film was produced by United Artists based in the US, the film had to compromise by adding more of the American patriotism by adding American actors and some US spirit to sell the movie on the market. The scene with the 3 American prisoners celebrating the 4th of July is very questionable on if events like that in the camps happened or not. All it leads to is the discovery of the main working tunnel, Tom, which did happen unfortunately, wasting hours of work from the prisoners and time of the essence to get out on schedule.
Oh my God, they found Tom!
In the film, it's supposed to give the characters a chance to take a break from the tensity of the work, but had they not celebrated the unity of honoring such an event, it's less likely Tom would have been found in the film, which led to one of the saddest moments in the movie itself. While inaccuracies are somewhat questionable, the film does still have enough to real-life history to make up for only a small little gripe.
It's the easiest way in the world to trip up a suspect. Don't fall for that old gag.
When the film came out, it was a smash hit with critics and audiences at the time, when big long-ass epics were the norm in Hollywood. With the film clocking in a locked cut of just under 3 hours, and with critical praise both from audiences and veterans of World War II, the film earned $11.7 million at the box office, making it a well-earned success for United Artists and everyone involved, and even more on several home video formats up to today, with United Artists' merged with MGM and MGM itself being acquired by Amazon. It's more than likely the movie will continue to find an audience on streaming services, along with the likes of Turner Classic Movies, to name a few. The film was also nominated for several awards, including Best Editing at the Oscars and a Golden Globe nomination for Best Picture. While it didn't win many of the awards that year, its efforts to detail and the filmmakers involved really deserved the nomination.
Good, eh?
Danny, it's bloody beautiful.
And I'm not gonna lie when I say that the editing in this film is friggin' brilliant, especially with the transitions. Look at this scene with Hilton Ives, for example. Just only a few hours after getting out of the cooler for 20 days, they're already planning their next blitz, which they plan to escape from tonight. But what happens right after the scene where they meet up and discuss the plan with the X organization?
I hope it works. If it doesn't, those two are going to be in the cooler for an awful long time.
That is fucking hilarious. Or take a look at the editing in this bit. In the opening scene, when all the prisoners come into Stalag Luft 3, you can see the wheels all turning in their heads, already trying to find weaknesses in the camp for attempts to break out. Even on the first bloody day, they're already trying to escape. And the editing sets all this up so brilliantly.
Hey, you got something going already?
One of my favorite cliches in movies is when you have a character about to explain a plan, and then it immediately cuts to the next scene. And before the transition, it always ends with that classic line, "Here's what we're gonna do."
Here's what we're gonna do.
Then here's what we're going to do.
And The Great Escape is no exception, especially in the scene where they discuss how they're going to dispose of the dirt from the tunnel.
Mac, this is what we'll do.
Simple, but effective.
It's indecently brilliant.
Hell, even I'm guilty of such an editing cliche.
All right, everyone, gather around. This is what we're gonna do.
The film's impact is still felt almost 60 years later since its release, even getting a video game on the PC, which was not good. If you want to see a hilarious review of this awful game, I'd highly recommend CADDICARUS'S video.
Why the fuck are you even watching this video?
Go and watch it, you shits.
But back to the impact on the film. It's easily one of the most inspired pieces of work for future filmmakers and TV producers. A lot of you young kids might have already caught on that this movie looks and sounds like a lot of 2000s kids material, from Aardman's amazing Chicken Run to Disney's TV series Recess, and even the likes of Toy Story 3 in both its shots, characters, and music. Well, that's because The Great Escape inspired those movies and TV shows to be made. Jeffrey Katzenberg, one of the heads of DreamWorks at the time and producer of Chicken Run, straight up summarized the paltry stop-motion film.
It's kind of an homage to The Great Escape, told with
chickens.
With the film even homaging the classic with an escape tunnel in the opening scene, organized plans from the chickens themselves, and even characters and shots ripped straight from the movie itself.
It's Mac's job to know everything that goes on. Huh?
I know our last escape attempt was a bit of a fiasco, but Mac and I have come up with a brand new plan.
Why 17? This is the 17th tunnel Danny started.
Spread the word, Mac. Meeting tonight in Hut 17.
But for Disney's case, aside from Toy Story 3, it's also an influence for the iconic animated series Recess. It's all about the same in terms of characters and planning, but more so in its music. You can't help but notice that the theme song to Recess is heavily inspired by Elmore Bernstein's work in comparison. I swear to God, the only thing missing from all these homages are all the authoritative figures speaking German.
Von wegen Stinktier, das glaubt ihr doch wohl selber nicht. Was ich hier rieche, ist eine Ratte.
No, okay, this didn't work. I'm gonna take this off now.
Which makes The Great Escape much more grand and impactful as a true life story in of itself. Especially telling the true stories that were left forgotten and unfinished. Alright, so in order to explain this part, major spoilers for the end of the movie.
Hey! Snape kills Dumbledore.
When the film was made and released, it brought to light a real-life event in World War II that was unjust and straight up showed the true evil nature of the Nazi regime. One thing I forgot to mention in my minor nitpicks, that given this movie is almost 3 hours long, the first 2 acts of the detailed escape are the most engaging part of the movie. But yes, when they do get out, with only 76 of the 250 planned, the film spends another hour with established characters on the run in Germany, making it to rendezvous points of lands of sanctuary where the Germans can't reach them.
Switzerland.
In real life, this plan did work long-term since many Germans were on the hunt for these escapees, and it allowed enough of a distraction and disorganization of the enemy to, believe it or not, have Allied forces enough time to charge the beaches of Normandy on D-Day and finally begin the assault on the Nazi regime to liberate Germany, and ultimately win the war, as seen and recreated in the likes of Saving Private Ryan. Despite no communication or actual knowledge of the escape until much later, the efforts of the X organization paid off big time in turning the tide of World War II, which for the majority of the escapees didn't end too well. 24 hours after the escape on March 25th, 1944, and as portrayed in the movie, a panic Adolf Hitler ordered the Gestapo to execute 50 of the 76 escapees, as a warning to any future escapes, which followed all camps being controlled by the High Command to secure as much of occupied Nazi land as possible, until eventually most were liberated by US and Russian allies in 1945. The movie shows 20 of the prisoners, including Roger and Mac, all being gunned down in a single massacre, with the implications of the other 2 groups being killed in the same manner. In reality, the POWs were shot individually or in pairs. While this event was not left unpunished after the liberation of Germany, the film brought this tragedy to light in the public's eye, making it one of the most important documented stories of the war. And even I'll admit, seeing the film for the first time, I not only didn't see it coming, but it left me in tears knowing that most of those who got out didn't make it. But their impact was left scarred by the enemy.
Roger's idea was to get back at the enemy the hardest way he could.
Do you think it was worth the price?
It depends on your point of view, Henley.
As the war came to a close, an investigation of the murders led to the trials and executions of those in the Nazi regime responsible, charged and sentenced for war crimes. The impact of the film's popularity gave rise to that part of the story being told on film with the TV movie sequel, The Great Escape 2: The Untold Story. No, I'm not joking, they made a sequel. In name only, and as much as it's as long as the first film, it's not as good quality-wise, but makes up for it with, much like the first, an all-star cast with Judd Hirsch, Ian McShane, Christopher Reeve, and Donald Pleasance?
By order of the Führer, you have all been condemned to death.
But his character was...
I know I seen you die in the first movie.
You mean to tell me that he plays another character as one of the Gestapo? That makes it look like that when he died in the first movie, he just faked his death and switched sides.
Colin?
Henley? Colin, what are you doing here?
Oh,
I'm the
Fuhrer.
Betrayal.
Splendid.
It's why I don't really consider it a sequel, but more of an extension of the real-life events, but also pays tribute to the original with one of the cast members and homages to the classic film. In 2009, 7 POW veterans returned to Stalag Luft 3 for the 65th anniversary of the escape and watched the film together as a group. According to the veterans, the film still holds up the historical details of the escape and what truly happened in the heart of World War II. So with that said, what are my thoughts on this epic tale of freedom? Pretty much everything I said in this goddamn review. This movie's fucking awesome. Overall, The Great Escape is an epic true tale of courage, survival, and teamwork in the peak of one of the greatest wars in human history. And the film is an all-time classic that should be in everyone's film collection in the highest quality. Its accuracies are fantastic, its sets are detailed like no other, the cast is outstanding with some of the most quotable lines in cinema, and its music is one of the finest war tracks of all time. To this day, its true-life events impacted and inspired me, and even educated me in the history of the war, making it one of the best World War II movies ever made, and one of my all-time favorite movies. And it's worth checking out however you can. With the highest Medal of Honor of, well, I think I'll let Squadron Leader Roger Bartlett do the honors for me.
You get 10 out of 10 for this, old boy.
So, give it a watch, dig it out, and enjoy the entertaining true-life adventures of great escapism. So that's my thoughts on The Great Escape, an all-time classic and worth every chance you can to watch it. And if you have seen it, what's your take on the film? Do you think it's a classic and historically accurate? Or too long and has some inaccuracies? Let me know in the comment section below, along with your favorite World War II picture. So until the next video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. This is BigJackFilms, signing off for now.
What are you calling meeting? X.
Tonight?
Your technical skills are impressive, Patient 92. You learned a lot from your studies with Dr. Terawat as his assistant all those years ago.
Well, when you run so long, you can't keep up with fate, can you, Doc?
A shame that your escape from our facility has caught up with your comeuppance.
Well, I was working on this device as a backup in case anything like this occurred.
Glad to see you are beginning to see things as you once were. Broken and submissive.
So if I can combine it with the computer data, we can get some leads here. Just a simple spark code to light and done!
No!
Sir, asset tracking is at 25%.
Check the backup generators! Get us back online! Patient 92, do you copy?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, Doc, it looks like we had a minor power surge. I'll get it on into ASAP. Just bear with me here for a sec.
Very well, proceed. We will keep a close eye on you.
Working.
Portable limit protection grid. Engaged. Overriding corrupt system access.
Well, computer, it's good to see you fully functioning again. But we have a limited time. Commence Operation Hut 17.
Acknowledged.
Good evening, gentlemen. You can clearly imagine why I've accessed Operation Hut 17 tonight.
Jack? Jesus fucking Christ, where the hell have you been?
Yeah, we tried contacting you, but your numbers were blocked.
My apologies. But they found me. The Department of Metahuman Control got us under house arrest.
Wait, the guys who were after that Dr. Tarawak guy? Didn't he get his ass kicked by Chester A. Bum a few years back?
Yeah, it's a long story, Reiser. I'll catch you up on that after this call.
Jack, how were you able to contact us without them monitoring you?
Oh, that was tricky. But doable. That power glove with Dr. Tarawak I was working on is not only a new weapon, but also a wireless backup for all of my tech and equipment. I'm still trying to get the FTT to function with it, but no luck so far. So I wired it to the computer and hacked into the mainframe and blocked off access to the department.
How are you distracting them?
Well, funny you should ask. When I was doing that tunnel skid under my facility in my review, I installed an unused invention the doc gave me. It's called the Miku hack, combining galactic universe tech and computer programs from Japan. It creates a holographic simulator that feeds into the monitors in the department. So as they're currently talking to me, they're actually talking to an AI. The only problem is the limited battery life, so we gotta be quick on this meeting, fellas.
Jesus Christ, man, I don't know how you're gonna get out of this one.
Well, to be honest, Brad, I don't think I am this time. This is not a retrieval mission.
This is an escape.
Exactly, Brock. I'm gonna devote my energies to the basic reviews throughout the year as far as they're concerned. In fact, I'm gonna put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig all the FDT files out. Now, looking at the satellites on the SS Kaiju guard shows us that the base is guarded on all borders. The only way out of here is with hacking, stealth, and transmitting data off the grid.
But that's potential suicide, Jack. You'd be risking everything.
Can you make a backup server, Nick?
Only a temporary one, boy. I can have it operated within a week. Moving the files will certainly take time.
Let me know as soon as possible, Nick. Bradley, this time we'll move everything divided before connecting to the servers. That will rule out any detection from the department or of potential enemy spies.
Alright, but did you say servers?
I did, Brad. There'll be 3. We'll call them Tom, Dick, and Harry. Tom will be the main server with the fastest movement, while Dick and Harry act as the slower set of servers as backups. If the goons find one, we move them to the others.
Where do you plan to move these servers, Jack?
Unit 205. There'll be no half measurements this time, gentlemen.
But that was stripped and abandoned by the department before the Great War.
Which is the last place they would look for the time being. I'll access and move it all on my own when the time comes.
Well, okay, sir. You're the boss.
Brad, I need maps, blankets, and rations for the walk.
You got it.
Hey, sorry I'm late, Jack. What's going on?
We'll catch you up to speed, Isaac. We're moving house and we're gonna need some of that magic from you.
Splendid. I do owe you one after all the Kong fiascos. And for the accidental leaks.
All in good time, Isaac. Kaiju crew, you'll be transfer kings. Ryan, you'll be in charge of traps, and I'll send you the info as we go along. Nick will be Taylor on hacking. Brad, of course, will take care of intelligence. Oh, RaisorBlade, you'll be with Isaac on diversions. And who knows, you might be able to put out a good co-review down the road.
Huh. That might actually be doable.
Jack, who's gonna run security for all of this?
You are? I want a manual system of grid stooges checking every goon in and out. That if they ever get a few feet from scanning, we can shut down without a sign.
Sounds easier said than done.
Well, I guess there's no point in discussing it anymore. I'll work with each and every one of you on the exercises and we'll wing out the details.
Well, the Kaiju guard will certainly take some heat.
Don't worry. We'll make this work, Captain. If the feds get on our asses, we'll create some diversions.
This will be a major risk for everyone. But it's a risk that we all have to take. Here's what we're gonna do.
Oh, son of a bitch, he's doing the thing.